Welcome to the 2016 3-Corps Best Warrior Competition Highlight Show. I'm Sergeant Woodbridge Bullock, and joining me is fellow field reporter Sergeant Joshua Joyner and our expert analyst, First Sergeant Adam Shaw. As we jump right into the breakdown of the playing field, Josh, you've been out here covering these events for the last 4 days now. Can you give us a quick recap of the what's what with the who's who from who knows where?
Thanks, Woody. And the way this competition breaks down is there's two categories. One for NCOs, 5 soldiers competing, and then one for, the lower enlisted. So specialist and below, 5 soldiers also competing for that. And where these soldiers come from plays a big factor in who's going to take credit as being 3-Corps' best warrior. And there's 3 soldiers from Fort Hood, 2 from Fort Riley, 2 from Fort Bliss, 2 from Fort Carson, and then 1 lone guy from Fort Bragg. So the numbers advantage really goes to Fort Hood as they are representing, the most people here.
So, Top, exactly how significant can a numbers advantage be? Is there such a thing as strength in numbers in an individual competition like this?
Well, it's simple math. The more people you have, the more chances you have to win. But at the same time, it really is about the content of the person who is competing. So that one person from Fort Bragg, we know that Fort Bragg is known for its training. So right off the bat, that's going to be a strong competitor. So 3 Fort Hood soldiers, yeah, that does give you an advantage, but there's some strong competition. You got that advantage from Fort Carson as well with their elevation. They can come here, and is that going to help them, in their events?
It only makes sense the hosting post would have the most entrants, but interestingly enough, the only Texas native is Paris, Texas' own Staff Sergeant Dominique Cooper with the 89th Military Police Brigade out of Fort Carson, Colorado. Was that enough to make him a favorite going into this, Josh?
Well, definitely when you consider the heat and humidity this time of year, because it's summer, it's 100+ degrees outside, 90% humidity. That's probably the biggest obstacle in any competition like that. Yeah, you have the events, you got the APFT, you have, leadership reaction course, stress shoots, and we're going to break all this down later. But really, an obstacle throughout the whole thing is just the heat.
And let's not forget, most of these troops bring unique backgrounds from different professional fields. Josh, exactly what MOSs were these guys working with?
All right, so you have the NCOs, and they had 2 MPs, 1 Cav Scout, 1 tanker, and then 1 signal soldier. And then you also have the soldiers category with 1 artillery, 1 Cav troop, 1 civil affairs, 1 infantry, and 1 support maintenance soldier. So really you have a mixed bag of all these different MOSs, what they bring to the table, what they can offer. And then, we're really going to talk about how that breaks down as part of the competition, who is the favorite going into each of these events.
Wow, and with only 10 participants, it's great to see that wide of an array of experiences. First Sergeant, what are the strengths and weaknesses, the boons and the banes, if you will, that this area of distinction creates?
Well, when you're looking at the MOSs, certain MOSs have more time to train on certain things. So if you're looking at an 11 Bravo, they're going to be out shooting a lot more, and there is part of this is a stress shoot. So they've certainly trained more than, let's say, a signal person would. But at the same time, you look at a combat medic, they have to do things under stress all the time. They are trained to deal with stress because they have to think fast under duress. So that might be a big advantage, just being a combat medic. And then you take someone like a signal person, well, they may have to solve a lot of problems in their daily environment, some signal things, and that may help them with puzzles and whatnot. And I think when you have like the leaders course, where they have to think quick and come to decisions, that might help them there. So, your MOS makes kind of teaches you how to think, and that's what's we're going to see play out here.
These are definitely the best of the best, no doubt. A group of Joes to be proud of, and I know the tremendous amount of respect Phantom Command Sergeant Major Acuna has for these fine young men. Let's hear what he has to say.
I'll just tell you that congratulate your troopers. These troopers have taken the challenge to compete at the level. Every trooper that's here, that's competing at the Corps level, have earned the title of Ensign Soldier of the Year for their organizations and for their divisions. So back at your home station, you see your troopers on the street, I'll just tell you to congratulate them. Oh.
Yes, congratulations are definitely in order, even more so when you look at the tests this crew had to face over these past 4 days. Out of 9 different events, there were 4 events which were extremely physically demanding. the Army Physical Fitness Test, the obstacle course, the mystery 12-mile ruck march, and the day-night land navigation courses. 2 events were purely mental, the formal board and the written test, while 3 events skirted the edge of both physical and mental realms with the stress fire, the battle drills, and the leader's reaction course. So Josh, let's look at each day's challenges the competitors faced, starting with day 1.
So day 1, you have, kicking the whole competition off, the Army Physical Fitness Test. Now, a lot of these soldiers, those not from Fort Hood, got here the day before. They got here Sunday, so they had no time to get acclimated to the heat and humidity. So they're thrown right into the mix with, the APFT. Let's see how good you are. And it was actually Specialist Torres and Staff Sergeant Cooper that rocked the APFT with perfect scores, and only Sergeant Gonzalez was anywhere near that close.
Yeah, in kicking off the events with a PT test is exactly how it should be, because that sets the tone. And in the Army, the PT test, the PT is how we start our day, and that really sets the tone for the entire day, and it set the tone for the entire event. And when you have 2 people come out, knock it out of the park, 300 PT tests, now you're looking at them going, whoa, that's my competition right there. Because that's just what we do in the Army. If you're a 300 PT, we look at that and we go, that's someone who we know they've trained hard, we know they push themselves, and we know they have that intestinal fortitude to push through some challenges. And that is why PT is so important in our daily lives, on top of, keeping us healthy.
And Specialist Vicente Torres with the 341st Infantry Battalion out of Fort Bliss and Staff Sergeant Cooper rocked the APFT by posting the only perfect scores. Yet Sergeant Stephen Gonzalez with the 1st Support Maintenance Company out of Fort Riley, Kansas was the only one remotely close. Top, how much of a factor does the first event's results play into the pressure behind the next challenge?
Well, that's a great question, because it's a mental challenge right there. Now, if you're one of the first people, you go, okay, I can do this. I'm ahead. I just got to keep going. Now, if you maybe didn't do as well on the PT test, now you're going, oh, now I got to pick it up in these other events. And what's hard about that is that you don't know how good those other people are at those events. So you feel like you're behind the entire time. So it does play into it. I know I would want to come out with the W right off the bat.
Absolutely. What better way to follow up such a traditional physical test than a traditional formal board and written test? Josh, who stepped it up to close out day 1?
Well, you got the formal board and the written test. So, completely different than the APFT. And it really shows, maybe you're a stud for PT, but then you haven't been studying. You don't know what, the 3-chord song is. You don't know all this other information that you really need to know. So it gave some other soldiers a chance to shine. And Sergeant Mia, he definitely killed it with the board with a near flawless performance. He's really been doing his homework out there.
Yeah, that was Sergeant Tariq Mio with the 2nd Battalion, 7th Cav Regiment out of Fort Hood, Texas. Yeah, the reigning mental giant among his peers in both events. Day 2 turned up the heat a tick or two with the obstacle course first up on the menu. First Sergeant, looking at the results, no one really struggled here. Does this course need to be re-examined, or are these warriors just that good?
It's funny you even say that, because no, it doesn't need to be redone. It is incredibly difficult. There's a reason why these guys are here. The 10 of these guys are the best of the best. I can tell you, I went out there with my unit a couple months ago, and going through some of those challenges are really hard. Let's say you take a look at the Weaver. You use so much of your arm and leg strength just to get through that thing. And of course, me, I'm 250 pounds, 6'7". It drained me completely. I got through it, but a few of our guys definitely came off that thing. Okay, just the climbing the rope. It's all technique, right? So you have to understand the technique. You have to practice that. If you have to, low crawl maybe not be too hard of a challenge, but when you have to step over high things, so if you're a shorter competitor, that might be a problem. If you're afraid of heights, that might be a problem. So no, this is not an easy obstacle course by any stretch, and certainly doesn't make it any easier when you're doing it for time.
Regardless of the great results from the first half of the day, Josh, you were out there during the follow-up event, the stress shoot. I'm dying to hear how well that went after such a successful morning. What about you, Top?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to hear it.
All right, so you've got the obstacle course. Now, these competitors actually rucked out to the course. So you've got that. They're in full battle rattle. they run through the obstacle course. They almost all get perfect scores, and it was for time. So they're running through it. Well, then they get about an hour and a half to hurry up and wait before they're moved out to where the stress chute is going to be. And the whole time the sun's just getting higher up in the sky. It's getting hotter out there. And then you get to the stress chute. They're having to carry a 150-pound dummy and then sprint with water jugs, disassemble a weapon, reassemble the weapon, sprint to the mound. And as soon as they get to the mound, before they even sit down or lay down, their first target has already popped up. And so a lot of these soldiers missed out on their first, 2 targets before they ever even got a chance to, load the magazine and start shooting. And they only had 1 chance to 0 as well. So the scores for the stress chute were pretty abysmal. but there was, a few soldiers like Specialist Kenny who was able to go out there and just almost get a perfect score, 37 out of 40. It's hard to beat that on any day.
Quite an X factor. Now we get to my favorite part of the whole competition, Day 3's dreaded mystery event, the 12-mile ruck march that seemed to have no end in sight. That's right, the whole lot of them were told to pack up their rucks and were then shuttled off at 3 in the morning, told to get stepping, without either one of them knowing how far they'd have to go. But Josh, surely there was a turning point out there somewhere.
They just kept going. So wake up at 2:45 in the morning, get online about 3:15, and just start rucking. And it turned out to be a 12-mile ruck, but there were water points along the way where they thought it was a turnaround point, but no, just keep going. Just keep going. And so they never really got to where they thought they were supposed to be. And it definitely did add a sense of mystery. They knew something was coming. They knew they brought their rucks for a reason. But it really played into exactly how far can they push us. And then that was only to start the day.
Right. And the finish point was even unknown as well. So they end up getting to the end of a parking lot, and they're wondering, okay, is this even the end? Turns out to be the end, the 12 miles, and they got their time. So finally, there was some resolution there. I'm sure they were very relieved about that.
Oh, definitely.
First Sergeant, from your experience, how much of an impact does an unknown distance have on a competitor? Can you afford to set a pace, or does it have to be all out?
Well, that's a good point, because if it's a 12-mile road march, you can prepare yourself for 12 miles. If it's 4 miles, you can give it all for 4 miles. But if you don't know how far you're going, you got to save something in the tank. But this is we do these events because it's all combat related. In combat, you don't know how much time you have. You don't know how long you're going to be fighting the enemy. You don't know how long you're going to be pushing forward. So this is why we have these sort of competitions, to mentally prepare ourselves for war, because that is honestly what this is all about.
After all that, our Phantom Warriors still had a lot on their plate during Day 3, with the battle drills and mystic lanes testing practical applications of combat medic and Seaburn skills, among others. And while a few Joes dropped the ball, most posted impressive numbers, showing a true group strength of proper execution under pressure. A pressure that simmered until Day 3's final events, the day and night land nav courses. How'd our boys fare out there in the country air, Josh?
Now, they actually did pretty well, but you got to keep in mind, so they're waking up at 2:45. They've got the 12-mile ruck march. Then they have the battle drills. They get out to the day land nav course around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they just to stroll through the woods for them. But then they have to stay out there till about 11 o'clock at night for the night land nav, which ended around 1 o'clock in the morning. So by that time, you don't really know what's going on. You've been up for 24 hours. You're tired physically and mentally, because it's the 3rd day of this whole competition. So it's a wonder that we got everybody back and they're not still lost in the woods.
Which leaves us with the competition's final event, the Leader's Reaction Course. I was actually out there to witness leadership and innovation at work. I'm watching this warrior leading his troops to get an ammo can safely across a metal bridge over a water hazard. In order to successfully evacuate the area once finished, they have to negotiate a barrier. He's up on this tall wall, and with all of his soldiers on the other side stranded, unable to get up and over the wall, knowing there's a line of notional barbed wire at the top of the wall that causes disqualification if touched, he has a bright idea. Since the soldiers report being able to scale the wall without the provided rope, he asks the judge if the rope can touch the barbed wire to create a barrier. The judge has to call over senior cadre. They'd never seen that before. Sure enough, they had no issues with it, and he got his troops safely through the obstacle. We talk about innovation. Prime example right there.
You know, that's one of the old sayings in the military. You know, I'll tell you what to do. You know, I'm not going to tell you how to suck the egg. Just do it. You know, and that's where this innovation really comes in handy. You know, that's what you want to see from a young troop, someone who's innovative. Yeah, you know, you want them to do what they're told, accomplish the mission. But someone who's innovative, someone who finds a better way. I mean, that is what you're looking for, especially as we move forward and become a lighter force in the Army. You need people who are innovative and mentally agile.
And Phantom Command Sergeant Major Acuna was out there taking notes, very interested to see who was pulling ahead almost every step of the way, because he had a clear vision as to how 3 Corps competitors could rise above the rest.
The intent for myself and from Command Sergeant Major Smith is to win it all. And we got the troopers to do that. We're the largest corps in the United States Army. So we have 4 divisions, an ESC that can come to bear. And I'm telling you, we have the right stuff, we have the right soldiers to do it.
And so it's all come down to this. Which of these excellent competitors will be titled the 2016 3 Corps Best Warrior? Surprise, surprise, we have an interview with the winner of the non-commissioned officer category.
It feels unreal. It feels weird, I guess.
And that's Staff Sergeant Dominique Cooper.
I'm going to let my friends know that, hey, I thought I was top notch, but obviously I'm not, because the competition was too close for that, you know? So I'm a very humble person. So if anyone tells me, hey, you should work on this, I'm that person that works on that. And this competition was very humbling. It was a very humbling experience. Being with my competitors, they were like, hey, you should try this or you should do this. We were helping each other at the same time. I was helping them, they were helping me. And with that, I'm going to take everything that I learned and just implement it into bettering myself and the soldier that's coming with me to Force Comp.
And we congratulate Staff Sergeant Cooper for this achievement and wish him all the best going forward.
You know, one thing I want to say about Sergeant Cooper, we talked about it earlier in this show, and of course we've known who the winners were the entire time. And we were, all the excitement, we hadn't just unraveled, but it's not all about, but I mean, that how you start. And that PT test scores 300 right out of the gate, and here he is the champion. And that's kind of goes into it. The PT is the most important thing we do in the Army every day. And it really sets the tone. And it set the tone for him. And Josh, I know you saw him out there. And how do you feel like his PT really did set the tone?
Oh, anything physical, he consistently set the bar for it. And it was him against everybody else. He was on top of the pyramid, so to speak. But yeah, max on the PT test, max on the obstacle course, max on the ruck march. Land nav, just to walk through the woods for him. I mean, when you can move as fast as he can, you can find a point, no problem. So, yeah, he definitely set the tone for the physicality of this competition.
Yeah, once again, congratulate Staff Sergeant Cooper for this achievement. All the best going forward. We now have the soldier category to announce, and without further ado, here is your 2016 3 Corps Best Warrior Soldier.
It's incredible. It's a surreal feeling. To compete against such high-level competition and come out on top is, blows my mind.
And that's Specialist Christopher Kenny.
Throughout the whole competition, there was no clear-cut winner, and everyone was on the edge of the seats waiting to see whose name would get called.
Congratulations to Specialist Kenny for a job well done. We look forward to seeing these warriors excel not only in the field, but at the next level of competition as well. Top, what's your advice for the winners going on to compete at the ForceCom level?
Well, my advice would be to continue training. All these are perishable skills. Continue working hard. There's a reason that they won at 3 Corps, and it's because of the work they put in. And the reason we do these competitions, of course, is to prepare for battle, but it's also to give people a healthy outlet. When you're training to do something, maybe you're not drinking as much, you're staying more fit, you're doing healthy activities and things. These competitions, same reason we have the intramural sports, is to give soldiers a healthy outlet to better themselves. And I would say continue working, and I would encourage any soldier to start preparing themselves for that company level board. As a first sergeant, I'm so proud of these soldiers, and but it really starts at that lowest level, that first line supervisor who prepared this soldier, and then that team leader, that squad leader, that platoon sergeant that really prepared these soldiers for this, and it's something you can really be proud of and watch these guys succeed. It's just absolutely amazing.
So as our coverage of the 2016 Best Warrior competition comes to a close, are there any final thoughts either one of you would like to add?
So I just want to congratulate the winners, of course, Staff Sergeant Cooper and Specialist Kenny, but also thank the rest of the competitors for coming out here and giving it their all, because it really showed throughout the competition that they were, trying to be the best that they could be. And while they might not all win the title of 2016 3-Corps Best Warrior, they are the best warriors for their unit, and that really showed, and they brought their A game to this competition. And I wish, the winners, 3-Corps Best Warriors, all the best of luck going into the next level of competition.
And with that, we'd like to remind you to please subscribe to our channel and like us on Facebook. For Sergeant Josh Joyner and for Sergeant Adam Shaw, I'm Sergeant Woodbridge Bullock. Thank you for listening. Phantom Warriors.